So I should have talked more about what said about the artificial structure of the government, and how it can't actually create positive change. We keep looking to our leaders to create change. We keep looking to the government to enforce change upon us or something, to save us from something. It's not how change ever happens. It never happens that way. Not ever. Not ever. It only reacts to our change. Okay? It is the consciousness of the individuals, of the whole group, of the whole collective together that starts to change. Yeah, they can skew us with the media. That's brainwashing though. That's not true. That's not true social change. The actual social change, the opening up to people, that's coming from our heart. That's pushing against their control modes. When they find that they can't do anything about the tide that's coming, when they recognize that the society is waking up from whatever illusion they've cast us into at the time, if that happens, and for a long time that didn't happen, you understand, that really didn't happen. But when they just got darker and darker, but once society started to wake up, they started to alter. The government started to alter, and then the people that went into the government, that got brainwashed into working in the government, because they're all victims too. They're all either they don't believe in it at all, and they're just in there to manipulate people. And I don't know how many of them there are, but for most, they probably believe in what they're doing. This doesn't mean they're not brainwashed, of course. Not at all. I'm sure most Nazis believed they were doing the right thing up until some point, probably. But some of them died thinking they were doing the right thing. They died very confused, very completely out of harmony with their soul's frequency and purpose. And what do we think this does? When a personality dies completely out of harmony with its soul's purpose and actual frequency, it can't go home. It can't go home. It has to return. It has to stay bound to that lower density realm and return somewhere in that lower density realm. But I keep going off. I keep going off on tangents, and I don't want to confuse people. So let me just go back to the control systems, okay? The artificial systems we build, no matter what the purpose, the stated purpose of the system is, the system will cease to serve us if we give that system sovereignty over us. I'm not saying we can't create a system for use, but if the system has sovereignty over us, if the system becomes bigger than us, and then every person that works in it is just a tiny thing that can't even change the system, and so it doesn't even represent the people working in it or the people itself. You understand that this entity of the government is a non-existent entity that we give our power to, we give our sovereignty to, and it's not real. Like, it doesn't exist, but it functions as it's an energetic thing, a force of its own. And it has intelligence of its own on this matrix. And that's hard for people to understand unless you have a certain understanding of reality, that these archetypes and these principalities and these things that we give our intelligence and our consciousness to can take on a life of their own. But that life will work antithetical to us, because we here are not creating our own reality. We here are not the creators of this reality. The creation of this reality is happening prior to this. And that is the creation that is in alignment with God, with our souls, with our higher selves, with our I am principles, with the totality of all. That is the first creation, right? The matrix is created by us giving our power over to systems and other people who are not using it and not being honest. We are giving our power over to those that are lying to us repeatedly and hoping that they'll stop. The system of government doesn't allow honesty, understand. The way it's built and the energetic signature it has and all the people that already work in it and all the modes that have been put into it, it is not possible for this government to have transparency and honesty. It just isn't. You can't expect it to. And we don't need it to. We don't need it at all. And we don't need to fight it. We don't need to fight the government. We don't need to fight the matrix. We don't. We have to stop giving it our power. We are the life flow of force here, of power, of love, of energy, of life. Life itself flows through the womb of the mother. Why do you think they suppress the feminine so hard? Why do you think they suppress the feminine so hard? They want to control that so much. Why do you think they're trying now to create fake breast milk? That's brilliant, Bill Gates. Yeah, you're just a gem, brother. You're just a gem. Man. Come on, man. Take back your power, brother. Take back your power. Come on. But, it's really hard for them. It's really hard for those that have sacrificed so much of their soul that there's almost no true communication coming to them anymore. That's why maybe one of us can talk to them and they'll hear it from through their haze of darkness and madness, however their perspective is on reality, because it's got to be whacked. Like, it's got to be way out. Way out. Yeah, I can't. Any case, I'm off on a tangent again, talking about Bill Gates and reptilian mind controlled things and all that stuff. The whole reptilian thing, I've gone through many perspectives about this. There are many levels again to things. And we could say that perhaps there's a world with reptilian beings, right? And like they live there and they've traveled across the universe conquering things and all this stuff, right? But that's only as true as I guess it's as true as like World War II or any of that stuff we believe in that happened. All the stories that we've created here. But they're not very true either. It's not going to be easy for anyone who's not experienced a higher dimensional reality to understand this. But none of that stuff really ever happens. Like it happened within our dream. It happened within our matrix. At a higher dimension, like, it didn't happen. It didn't. We are fractals of ourselves that split off and had these dark dreams, and just fell into it's madness is really what it is. We fell into a kind of madness. But we are powerful beings. Our actual monads, our God self, we are powerful beings. What we create has power. When we create a false structure, it's a serious thing. You have to be careful what you create. You have to be careful about your thoughts. You have to check everything through your heart. And we haven't done that for a long time. So when we create science, we don't check it with our heart. We don't see. Even if it's rational, doesn't mean it's valuable. We don't check and see. We don't check and see if this creation, this perspective is in alignment with ourself, with our soul. And then the government goes upon enforcing an education upon us, upon our children. I want to talk right here about something that I hope every light worker who has a child has already recognized. And if not, I hope you hear me right now. just look how our parents treated us. Just look how they treated us in relation to the school systems, in relation to the authority systems like the police systems and the courts and the mental health systems, the psychologists and all these people. Any outside systems, child services, any of us that had to deal with these things, any of us that had to deal with foster care, child services, the schools, anytime that a teacher called and said, he did this, this, and this, and this, anytime that authority came, almost always they turned against us. Almost always they turned against their own children for not understanding an insane world, for not understanding a world of madness and fitting perfectly in to this system that they didn't even fit into and understand. They turned against us. And I'm not here to stand in judgment of them because they were brainwashed. I love them. I understand. They were brainwashed. But it's imperative that we see this and do not repeat the same mistakes. How many of us are willing to fight with our children over forcing them into a mold that the schools say is right? How many of us are willing to tell our children that their dreams and the things they want are not valuable because they don't fit in to society's mold? How many of us are willing to hand our children over to child protective services, child welfare services, or psychologists who say they need a certain medicine because there's something wrong with them, because they don't understand them, and because we don't understand them? I hope we can all see that this is programming we have accepted. This is brainwashing, and it is not loving. It is not loving. It is not supportive. And it is not in alignment. We need to defend our children first. How many of the generation of our parents allowed the church, allowed the Catholic Church and other structures and organizations, from the Boy Scouts to pop singers, to molest our children, to harm our children, to harm us? Because this happened to me. This happened to my mother. This happened to almost everyone. We shouldn't act like it's some rare thing now. We shouldn't pretend like it's not a massive thing that's happening. This is all programming. This is the dark matrix programming us, corrupting us, turning us from ourselves, turning us against our children. Just think about the effect upon your heart, upon your soul. It won't change your soul. Yes, it will cut off your soul from you, because you will become greatly out of resonance with your soul, which would never harm innocence, which would always uphold innocence. Trust me, this is the greatest corruption they can give to you. And if they can give it to the child, all the better. If they can make the child believe that there's no innocence, all the better. And if we allow it, it's twice the damnation for us. It's twice the loss of power for us, for the adult. It's twice the madness for them. And the system perpetuates. We have to start standing up for what's right in the face of the government, in the face of the teachers, in the face of the psychologist, in the face of the doctors, in the face of all the people, all the experts, all the authorities. It's fine to be a healer. Blessed be, it's a blessed calling. But there's a difference between being a doctor and a healer, honestly. Because most doctors don't listen to their patients at all. They assume we don't know what we're talking about. We don't know anything about our own bodies. And they try to cookie cutter stamp you into something, and then most of them, the majority of them, are bought off by the pharmaceutical companies, whether they even realize it. Most of them I'm sure a lot of them realize it, to some degree, but they think that's the way it is. And they've already sold so much of their self that they don't, everyone else is doing it, so no one notices. That's the point of capitalism. That's the point of consumerism. That's the point of wanting, of keeping you obsessed with money and buying and having and things and stuff, so that you don't pay attention to your feelings, to your heart, to the emotional body, to the mental body, to your soul, to your etheric body, to all these other energy channels and things that are screaming to you that this isn't what life's about. This isn't what you should care about. This isn't what's important. And it's certainly not worth doing things that are in contradiction to your soul, to your true expression, and to your creator to acquire those things. They want you to want these things so bad, and they want you to feel they're out of range. That's the only reason so many of these things cost so much money, is so you can't have them. Don't you know that, right? You know that, right? Do you think it really cost $100,000 to make certain cars? No. Of course, they're making a ridiculous, insane profit on those cars. It may cost more to make a BMW than a Honda or something. It may, but it doesn't cost that much more. No, the pricing is so that you can't buy it, and so that those can buy it feel better than the other ones. Both things are corruptions. Both things are brainwashings. You believing in lack, and they're believing that there's lack for you and not for them, and that there's something better about them. They're both lost. We're both lost. The rich and poor are both lost. They're both equally confused, because lack is an illusion. It's a distortion. We are free creators. We will always have what we need, as long as we know that, as long as we believe that. If we believe something else, that's what we will create. And so they want you tied in to this whole system, that you need to make money, that you need to work, that they are responsible for your survival, that the government is responsible for your survival. I am not under that illusion. Even if I get a check from the government, even if I get a check from another person, it doesn't matter where the money comes from, because that's an illusion. The money's an illusion. The abundance, my life force, everything here is coming from my soul, which is coming from the solar logos, which is coming from the universal logos, which is coming from the all that is. So again, when we make a system and we empower that system to be sovereign over us, meaning the system now has rules and codes of conduct, and they keep making more rules, right? And all the rules contradict each other. That's not an accident. It's not an accident that all these different rules contradict each other. It's meant to be that way. It's meant to be all superseding that, so that no one is exempt from this system of control, right? So that it catches everyone in a web of nonsense. It's not real. It's not freaking real. We don't have to validate it at all. And there are dimensions. There are dimensions that exist that all of us are in right now. You're there right now in a dimension that is free of the government. Yeah, you're free right now. You're free right now. The part of you that is held in that lower density structure where the government exists and all the control and fear exist, that's only an aspect of you. That's only a tiny aspect of you that's been lost. If that aspect will just stop fighting and turn around back to its creator and start to look to it for everything. Don't worry. Don't stop believing in this out here. Stop believing there's a government. Stop believing in the Matrix. Just see it as a show. It's just a show. It's just a play. Stop giving it your power. Stop interacting with it. Trust everything. Start believing that your particular show, like I understand there's a show happening with Russia and Ukraine. That doesn't pull me down into that violence. I'm not ready to go fight. Nor am I like all about one side and supporting it. Am I going to, raise charity and get all my energy into it? Like, I'm not going to tie my consciousness into it. I'm compassionate for it. I send them love. I'll pray for them. But I'm not going to get pulled into that consciousness, because in my reality, there's no violence. In my reality, there's no violence, because my reality is being created by my higher self. My reality is being created by my higher self. And anytime it's not, that's where I've given power to the Matrix. And I have yet to claim it back. So anytime any kind of conflict arises, it's either something within this expression that I've not completely ironed out. There's some amount of distortion or programming left from the childhood that has to come out, or it's a way I've given my power out here externally to some system or belief in a thing like that, or another person. I mean, most of that is gone for me now. I'm mostly dialing in my inner stuff. But no, there's still some external things that I've given power to. Yeah, there are. All the way down to eating habits, that are not actually in alignment with myself, that are just patterns of behavior that I had from another time and place, that are left in this brain or whatever. But they're not actually in alignment with me and who I am now and where I'm going and what I'm becoming. So there's still plenty of things, plenty of internal patterns that tie me to the external world. Put it like that. But I don't have a belief that the government has any control over me. That's why I can sit here and say whatever I want. And I'm not worried about retaliation. Now, I'm not going to lead a fight against the government either. I don't hate the elites and the cabal for what's happening, and I don't hate the people that work in the government. I don't hate the police. I don't hate any of them. They're all my brothers and sisters. But if you're going to identify I've made some people could see some of my statements as anti-police. Because I've said things like there's no such thing as a blue life. So you can't sit there and claim blue lives matter and retaliate, in response to the Black Lives Matter movement, which I'm not saying I'm for or against either. I'm not for any of these things. They're all responses to nonsense that's keeping us divided. But to think that because you become a police officer, that you're now, that's a race, that's the type of being you are, and that if someone kills you, that's a blue life. I mean, you're putting yourself into that position. That's not fair. That's not the same thing as someone being born into that position. You literally cannot compare a choice you are making to go to work with enormous benefits, and it's not fair to say that you're not in the more dangerous position either. It's not equal. 20 cops run up with guns on one person, and even if one gets shot, the other people are getting shot way more. And it's not, it's a coward's position, honestly. I mean, come on. It's a coward's defense tactic. So I'm sorry, I'm not in support of the police because they use violence to enforce the will of an authoritarian regime. I mean, they're enforcing the will of the rich. Mainly what the police are protecting is property. If you're willing to kill a person for property, you're deeply lost. If you're willing to go and join the army and kill people for the greedy desires of other men, or for whatever reason they say, you're lost. You're lost. If you're willing to kill for any reason, the only possible reason I could say for any of it would be if it happened on accident, maybe in the defense of the innocent. And I can't myself even see making that decision anymore, because you're all my brothers and sisters. You're all my brothers and sisters. Like, if the world is so dark that we can't speak our truth, then I'll just leave. You know, if they are all attacked, but they can't even do that anymore. Like, we would just come back because we have control of the time stream. We come from a place before time. That's the point. These messages are coming through. See, it's not like I'm someone better than the government or any of the people that work in the government or the police or anyone else that's enforcing some sort of violent, dark agenda. Okay? It's not like I'm better. It's only that I'm listening. They're just not listening. These messages are coming through from our hearts to all of us. Like, I'm just speaking it. But if you're willing to harm your brothers and sisters, to uphold a law that has been written by rich people, mainly to protect them and benefit them, and that protects property, again, stuff. If someone is stealing something to eat, or even if they're stealing something to sell to get something to eat, or even if they're selling to get high because they feel that sick and they don't know what else to do, who cares? Like, I'm not saying let it happen, but I would let it happen myself, because I don't care about the stuff over the person. That's my brother. That's an expression of God that's in need. Why would I turn them away? Why would I care more about having stuff? It's not like they're trying to take the food out of your mouth. And generally, the police that are protecting this have no personal interest in this stuff at all. They're just upholding the system. Oh, they're trying to rob. Oh, they're trying to do this. You know, it's all a system of enforcement and separation. Like, it's all a way to uphold the monetary and financial separation of us into classes of people that have and what we're allowed to have, and that determines our social value. This is all a system of illusion and control. None of that stuff means anything. None of it is worth harming your brother and sister. None of it. If you start valuing the actual life, if you start valuing life over stuff, you will find freedom. If you start valuing your brothers and sisters over property, over rules, over ideas, you will find love and peace and harmony and understanding and growth and knowledge and power. And you will escape the hands of those who are trying to keep you bound, trying to keep you from finding those things. You will escape their grasp by loving them. There are no bad guys here. There are no good guys. There's only confusion and not confused. Less confused, really. Because we're all confused. I'm still confused. I'm just a lot less confused than I used to be. But I don't have all my memories back. I don't know everything about myself. There's still much of myself that remains mysterious to myself, and I'm starting to think that may never end. I'm starting to think we're eternally mysterious. So I don't know. But I'm certainly less confused than I once was. Excuse me. I just woke up. Love and light.